Hey everyone, welcome back to Model Walk Explained. Tonight's story is called Golden Years. Our model will be portraying Olivia, a woman in her 40s quietly reflecting on a love that once burned bright in her golden years. Love that happens in our prime often feels the most dazzling, yet it can also be the most fleeting. When Olivia was 30, she met Lucas and truly believed he would be her forever. But as the years passed, like grains of gold slipping through her fingers, she came to realize that some loves are never meant to last. They are only meant to be remembered. What touches us most in this story is not the passion itself, but the quiet grace and acceptance she finds after time has taken almost everything away. Olivia is now 42, living in an old apartment in mid-levels. From her balcony, she can see the glittering lights of Victoria Harbour. On some quiet nights, she pours herself a glass of red wine and sits alone, letting her thoughts drift. She first met Lucas when she was 30. Back then, he was the typical charming Hong Kong playboy. He was well off, good-looking, and carried a hint of arrogance. They met at a friend's party. Lucas walked over, handed her a glass of champagne, and said with a smile, "You don't really look like someone who enjoys these kinds of events." At that time, Olivia was a creative director at an advertising agency. Her career was demanding, and her love life was completely empty. She was drawn to his straightforwardness, and before long, they fell deeply in love. Those few years were the brightest chapter of her life. They went skiing in Japan, drove across Europe together, and spent countless nights talking until dawn on the benches along Victoria Harbour. Lucas would often say, "Olivia, I just want to spend the rest of my life like this with you." She believed him. At 33, Lucas suddenly told her he had a chance to work in London for at least 3 years. He asked if she wanted to go with him. Olivia was at the peak of her career then, and she hesitated. Lucas looked at her for a long time before finally saying, "Forget it. You have your own path to walk." And just like that, he left. After he was gone, Olivia poured all her energy into work. She got promoted, earned more money, and eventually bought the apartment she lives in now. Life moved forward steadily. Only in the quiet hours of the night would she sometimes think of the things Lucas once said by the harbour. 10 years later, Lucas returned. It was an ordinary Friday afternoon when Olivia was meeting a client at a cafe in Causeway Bay. She looked up and saw him sitting not far away. He looked thinner than before, and his eyes carried a quiet calmness. Lucas walked over and stood beside her table. Lucas said softly, "Olivia, it's been a long time." Her heart trembled for a moment, but she still managed a calm smile and replied, "Lucas." They sat down like old friends catching up. Lucas told her he had gotten married in London, divorced 2 years ago, and had now returned to Hong Kong to start over. Olivia simply said her career was stable and her life was peaceful. After a while, Lucas suddenly asked, "Back then, if I hadn't left, would you have come with me?" Olivia stared into her coffee for a long time before answering. Olivia said, "I was afraid of losing myself." Lucas gave a bitter smile and said in a low voice, "I was also afraid of losing you. That's why I left so cleanly." Outside the window, it began to rain. The raindrops blurred the glass, softening the world outside. In that moment, Olivia finally understood something. All these years, she thought she had lost love, but what she had actually lost was only the version of herself from that time. And Lucas, he was only ever meant to belong to those golden years. Time flows like gold. It takes away the heat and the intensity, but leaves behind a quiet kind of grace. Before they parted, Lucas said one last thing. Lucas said, "Olivia, if I could go back, I would have asked you to come with me." Olivia looked at him and gently shook her head. Olivia said, "Even if we went back, we would still end up here." The rain eventually stopped. Olivia walked out of the cafe. The air after the rain felt clean and fresh. She knew that some loves are only destined to shine brightly for a while in our golden years, before quietly becoming part of the background of our lives. She didn't regret it, but every now and then, she would still think of what Lucas once said to her by Victoria Harbour all those years ago. And now, she has finally learned how to let it rest quietly in her heart. That's the end of tonight's story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss our next story. See you next time. Thank you. 새벽부터 my vibes for you. 머리부터 발끝까지 got it all right for you. 급하게 서두를 필요는 없어. 떨려도 두려워할 거는 없어. 어설픈 너의 몸짓 짙어져가는 눈빛 yeah. 새로워진 you and me 깊어져가는 우리 yeah. Got me on my back yeah. 내가 왜 이래도 대체 Got me on my head yeah. 하루 종일 집중이 안 돼 All up in my feels 아름다워 내가 봐도 내가 놀라워 All I do is 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 dream of you yeah. Ooh yeah love you down oh baby Ooh yeah love you down oh baby 오늘 같은 날이라면 모든 꿈이 이루어질 거야 yeah. Make that heartbeat flutter 비교가 안 돼 no other 위험한 여자라 좋아하지만 But I never leave your side 다 알잖아 I'm always ride or die 그래 나만 바라봐 baby You and I 더 뭐가 필요해 baby 끊임없이 talking stay up all night 시간은 이렇게 보내요 tonight 어설픈 너의 몸짓 짙어져가는 눈빛 yeah. 새로워진 you and me 깊어져가는 우리 yeah. Got me on my back yeah. 내가 왜 이래도 대체 Got me on my head yeah. 하루 종일 집중이 안 돼 All up in my feels 아름다워 내가 봐도 내가 놀라워 All I do is 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 dream of you yeah. Ooh yeah love you down oh baby Ooh yeah love you down oh baby 오늘 같은 날이라면 모든 꿈이 이루어질 거야 yeah. 준비했어 all night for ya 새벽부터 my vibes for you 머리부터 발끝까지 got it all right for you 길을 잃지 않아도 넌 티가 나 숨기려고 해도 환히 보여 난 아닌 척을 해도 너무 빛이 나 그런데 모르는 사람은 왜 너뿐이야 자신감을 가져 자신감을 가져 Girl won't you be yourself 걱정하지 말고 불안해하지 말고 Girl time to love yourself 너는 너대로가 perfect 누가 뭐라 해도 perfect 세상 사람들이 너를 외면한다 해도 너는 누구보다 완벽해 이 세상에 하나밖에 없는 you're so perfect 특별하게 너다운 게 say it with me perfect If you didn't know now you're the baddest you should know now 너는 네가 너무 완벽해 나는 내가 관리 내 속마음 mind and body 긍정적인 사고 Now tell me who will stop me 자기 비하 stop me I talk